Hey there, Aquarius. First of all, I just want to say to you guys, thank you so much for all of the views and comments and interactions on your video from last month. It is approaching 21,000 right now, I think, in terms of views, and there were 621 subscribers from that one video alone last month. And I remember when I was so excited and so shocked that the channel itself had managed to get 621 subscribers. So to have that many of you join the channel from one video was just, it was incredible. So I just wanted to start this out by saying a huge thank you to you guys for that. I'm going to do the videos a little bit differently this month than I did last month. So I'm just going to let you guys know, for those of you who really enjoyed me walking you through the spread, I did that as a separate video this month. So if you're interested in learning more about the spread itself and what the cards mean for me interpreting them a little bit more in depth, you can head over to that video. I put the link in the description box below. So you can go over there, I'll meet you there, walk you through the spread, and then we can all come back here. And this reading for this month will actually just kick off with the pre-shuffle. Obviously, I'm moving into the pre-shuffle. I know that a lot of you want to watch me do the entire pre-shuffle, but sometimes it takes me a long time, and I also will sometimes play music when I'm doing the pre-shuffle and meditating for you guys, so it's usually music that I can't actually let you guys hear in the video. So I will speed the pre-shuffle up so that you can watch it at least, and I'll give you guys some music, and then I'll actually talk over the music about the cards that came out, just so you're actually getting the pre-shuffle information while you're watching it. That's the easiest way for me to do it and still be able to do what I need to do to get into the right energy. So I feel like I've chatted with you guys enough. Thank you for bearing with me. I'm gonna go ahead and speed this up now, and I'll probably switch back and forth between the views just so you guys don't get too bored. And I'll see you when we're done with the pre-shuffle. So let's talk about this pre-shuffle, Aquarius. I'll show you the cards as they come out, but I want to go ahead and start with the first one, the Knight of Swords upright. You have your eyes on the prize, and nothing and no one is going to stop you from being successful. That is, if you're willing to actually say the things that you know you need to say and stop holding back. It's good to not do anything hasty and to think things through logically and intellectually. But be careful that you don't get stuck in your head with your actual real life on pause. Coming out next is going to be the Page of Coins upright. This is another card that speaks to you manifesting a goal or a dream. Keep in mind, however, that this page only brings you the inspiration and the potential energy. It's up to you to come up with the plan and take action. Next out, you have the Eight of Cups, and it's reversed. This card is about the question of should you stay or should you go? Likely you find yourself trying to decide if you should call it quits or give it one more try. And if this resonates with you, then you have to figure out how to listen to your heart, because your head isn't likely to hold the key to this decision, unfortunately. Do you really need to spend more time in isolation, thinking and analyzing, or have you spent too much time withdrawn and disconnected? Is there someone else waiting for you to re-engage? Do you find yourself thinking you should do one thing but feel like you should do something else? The Hermit coming out reverse indicates that it's time for you to make a move one way or the other. And the last card out here is the Eight of Swords, and that's upright. This is the victim mentality card. You thought yourself to a corner and it's time to get out of your head. You are not trapped, you are not powerless. There's no prison keeping you from taking action. It's time for you to just pick a path and follow it. Okay, so that was the pre-shuffle. I hope that you guys enjoyed that. And we're going to go ahead and just get right into the reading. So again, if you missed what I said at the beginning, I did a separate video that explains the spread. So if you're someone that wants to know lots of details about the spread and a little bit more in depth about the cards and how I've assigned meaning to them, you can go watch that video. The link is in the description box below. I will put up little blurbs in between each section just for those that don't want to go watch that video. You'll have some idea, but if you want to know lots of details, you should head over to watch that and come back. So I'm going to switch the view there and then lay these cards out. So we're actually going to take the card from the bottom for the first card. That's going to be your overall energy. And then I'm just going to lay these out in order from the top for the rest of the remaining cards. So I'm really hoping you guys get a really good, solid read this month. I'm really wishing good things for everyone. The readings last month, I'm not gonna lie, some of them were really intense, like really highly emotionally intense, and it was a lot trying to get through some of them, honestly. So I'm just gonna take a minute here and just spend some time with the cards before I flip them over. I just like to sort of make sure I'm touching everything and getting my energy focused in. Okay, so Aquarius, let's start with your reading for July 2019. I'm going to go ahead and turn over the first 3 cards. This will be what is known as the story, and I'm just going to put up a little graphic here before I actually flip these over, just so you guys can have an idea of what exactly is going to be covered in this section. Okay, so now that you guys know what we're going to cover, I'm going to go ahead and flip these over for you guys and see what we have going on. Okay, so we're going to just start here with the very first card out. And again, this represents the current overall energy between these 2 people. And the card that we have coming out here is Justice Reversed. So let me talk to you guys here. It's interesting in terms of overall energy with this card, because in terms of energy, I don't know if you guys can hear that dog barking. If so, I'm sorry. It's distracting me. Energetically, what I'm getting from this card is it's not necessarily a feeling of there being anything that was dishonest or it's more that there's an overall vibe here, and I'm feeling it from both sides. I'm feeling it both from Aquarius as well as the other person. There's a vibe here that, like, almost like justice wasn't served. It's a feeling that the accountability that should have been put onto the other person, and again, I'm feeling this from both sides. It's like both sides feel like the other person got away with stuff that they shouldn't have been able to. And it feels very much like neither person is really satisfied with how things played out. It's interesting because I don't feel like from either side a feeling like either of these people actually feel like they got away with something. Like, I'm not feeling that sort of smugness or arrogance that would normally come with someone who feels like they truly got away with something. So it's interesting because even though like both people feel like the other one got away with stuff and didn't have the appropriate amount of accountability on them, neither of the people really feel like they actually did get away with anything. It doesn't feel necessarily like a celebratory sort of energy. Now, it's interesting because the second card is actually insight into what exists between these 2 people, okay? And this is what's really interesting to me. Switch you guys over. So you have the 9 of Swords coming out, upright. I feel like a lot of this, in terms of this feeling that like you were, like what it feels like is between these two people, there's a feeling that they really got screwed over. Okay, that's like the feeling. But what actually exists between these two people is a lot of anxiety and worry and being really in like your head about thinking this through. And it feels like, honestly, like if it feels like a lot of what you think the other person did or what you think they were up to. And again, this is very clearly from both sides. So if you are an Aquarius, I feel it's from you. If you're a cross watcher, I feel this from you. It's this definite feeling that you were done wrong and the other person got away with it. They didn't have to suffer any consequences for it. And the truth of the matter, what really feels like it's the most sincere and the most honest answer is that both of you are sort of assuming the worst about the other person. I want to go ahead and move to this card. So this is card number 3. It's a Seven of Swords reversed. And this card represents the purpose of this connection. Okay, so this is the reason that this connection has happened and the reason that this connection is in the state that it's in currently. Okay, so what I'm getting here is that this connection serves as a way for both people to be forced in a way to confront the ways that they actually deceive themselves. What I sense here is that there are lots of things that both sides here feel in terms of their own worthiness of love. It's like, I mean, I don't want to assume too much, so I'm going to just give this as a disclaimer because I haven't yet seen other cards. But what I feel right now, for at least a decent amount of you guys, is that this relationship is actually not a bad relationship. It feels very much like on both sides. And again, I'm saying this mostly because like I don't sense an energy of anyone feeling like, ooh, I got away with this. I really managed to like, you know, mess their life up and get away with it. I don't feel that. So I think what's going on is that both people in this connection have a lot of doubt about, number one, their ability to have a healthy relationship. But what I don't think that's phrased correctly, so I'm listening to see. There's an aspect of it that is feeling unworthy of having a good relationship. But it's, okay, it's not, both people doubt their ability to recognize a good relationship. So I feel like maybe for both people, they didn't have any sort of neither of these people had a relationship as they were growing up that they feel represented real, true, healthy love and connection. And what that's led to is as adults, both of these people just really doubt their ability to understand what makes a relationship healthy because they feel like they never got to see it or experience it. But it's confusing because instead of talking about this, instead of being open about it, instead of, and again, it goes back to this Seven of Swords reverse. It's like neither of these people are saying this. even though they both feel this way. It's like if they would just talk about it, if they would just say, you know what, I feel like I really care about you and I feel like this is really good, but I had a messed up childhood and my parents divorced, or they fought all the time, or I never knew my dad, or my mom left when I was like, whatever it is, like whatever the, I mean, here's the thing to keep in mind, everyone has crap that makes them feel like they aren't worthy of being in a relationship or being loved or cared for. But instead of having those conversations, it's like you feel like you can't trust what this person feels like to you or what this person is showing you. And so you just feel like they're trying to play a game, or they're trying to mess with you, or they're not being honest. And so what it feels like is this justice reverse, like they are up to something and you can't catch them. Like that's more what it is. It's not even that necessarily that they've already gotten away with something. It's like you're suspicious that they're up to something and you can't catch them. You can't manage to get them in a space where you have that aha moment and you can call them out and say, I knew you were up to this and now I have proof. Like it, but it's weird because I feel like both sides are sort of looking for proof. And what's happening is it's creating this almost like paranoia about not being able to trust this person. But again, I just feel like it's all mental. I feel like all of it is, it's just in your head. It's a lot of, I mean, I feel like for some of you, again, with this Nine of Swords, it's like, I wouldn't be shocked if some of you, a lot of you actually, have been having like really bad dreams about this person in terms of them cheating or catching them in a lie or finding out some horrible secret about them, or some other sort of betrayal. And it's like those are dreams that you've had, but because of where your mind is and how focused you are on this fear that they're up to something, those dreams actually feel as if they were real. So it's like when you wake up from these dreams, it's almost like you're literally mad and upset with the person, even though it was a dream. It was a dream and that didn't actually happen. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else from this group before I move on. I just want to say again, like, so far, I'm not getting anything that makes me feel like this relationship is bad. I mean, as we get into more of the motivations of the other person and what's going on and how these people are looking at things, that might shift for me because I might see something else. But right now, I just feel like both people are so in their heads about things that you're not actually seeing the person for who and how they are. And there's two reasons for that. I want to explain this and then we'll move on to the next section. Part of the reason that you're not seeing the person for how they really are is because you have in your mind that this person is a certain way. Okay? And because of that, because of your perception of who they are and how they are, you've sort of blinded yourself to being able to experience them for how they actually are. Because everything that they do or everything that they say, every action that they take or everything that you sort of observe from them, you're seeing it and filtering it through this belief about them. Okay? So that's part of the reason why you can't really see them for who and how they are. The other reason is because they're not actually showing you that right now, because they're also in their head. They're also really paranoid and worried that you're up to no good. And so because of that, it's almost like they're protecting themselves as much as you're protecting yourself. And that's just further making it easier for the two of you to have a lack of trust. Because you can sense that this person isn't being genuine, that this person isn't showing you who they really are. But the reason they're not showing you who they really are isn't because they're keeping some sort of secret or because they're up to no good. It's because they have the same sort of feelings and fears that you do right now. I hope that makes sense because it's really complicated, but it's totally what's going on here. It's and it's hilarious because if these two people would just talk, if they would just sit down and have an open conversation, this could all be resolved. I understand why they won't right now, because these fears are really intense. This is both people are very scared of being hurt. And I think that both people also know that when they get to a point where they feel like they can't trust someone, then they're done. Like it's done, it's over with. And so I think both people are trying to like give this a chance, but you're not actually giving it a fair chance because you're not being open and you're not being honest. So let's go ahead and move into the next section. This is going to give me insight into what happened here. Why are we in the place that we're in right now with this situation? I'm going to throw up a title screen, and then when that's done, we'll come back here and I will flip over the cards that we're going to explore next. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the next cards. I'm going to flip them all over just so I can have a look at them, and then I'll walk you through them individually and we'll get a look at what happened here. Okay. Okay, Aquarius, we're going to start with you and your personal current emotional state here. So, really interesting. You have the High Priestess coming out as your current emotional state. So, I get a couple of things here from this card. And Aquarius, I think honestly, and I wanted to just check in on this, but I feel like you are actually doing your thinking about this, at least partially, you're doing it from a very good space. You're really trying to, regardless of whether the Aquarius listing this as male or female, that, in terms of like however you identify personally, what you're choosing to do here is to really rely more on like your divine feminine side in thinking about this. And I feel like for most of you, when you are trying to think about a relationship or protecting yourself, I feel like you actually would usually typically default more to a more divine masculine approach of thinking about that. I feel like you don't typically want to think from a space of emotion. You want to think from a space of logic and sort of detached from the emotion. But I feel like right now, you're actually leaning much more into thinking about things from an emotional standpoint. And there's also a level of really trying to catch yourself when you're too much in your head and you're being too logical about things, and trying to actually listen more to your intuition and for guidance, which is actually a really good space to be in. So in terms of your current emotional state, if that's resonating with you, if you do feel like that's something that you're doing, then that's awesome. And if that's not what you feel like you're doing, perhaps trying to shift more into that will actually help you. Now, I want to talk, Aquarius, a little bit about your own underlying fear and issue here. So we have the Seven of Cups coming out reversed. You guys can see that. So this is interesting. Aquarius, it could be that I get so nervous saying something like this because I know cross watchers also watch, but so Aquarius, there are a couple of ways that I'm getting energy off this card. So because this is assigned as an underlying fear or issue, and what I'm getting really from the card energetically is feeling overwhelmed or feeling insecure because there are lots of choices, or there are lots of options. So I feel like for the majority of you, Aquarius, you don't necessarily want to give up on this person yet. Because again, like I said earlier, I don't sense that this is a bad connection, even though it might feel that way, right? But I think on some level, Aquarius, because you are avoiding sort of being very logical about this, and you're actually trying to connect more to really feeling your way and being in that high priestess energy, I feel like on some level you have this feeling that this person is not a bad person for me. This person, I should really be open and I should really be able to trust this person. And you're trying to figure out why you don't. Now for the other person, I don't necessarily feel like they're in that same space. They just feel like they can't trust you and they want to know what you're doing, because it feels more to them like it's a hunch that they're right to not trust you. But for Aquarius, I feel like you feel like there really isn't a reason for you to feel the way that you do. And you don't want to lose out on this connection, but I feel like you're aware that, number one, I think you know that this other person has other options other than you. And I feel like you have other options other than this person. I feel like it's really stressful for you, Aquarius, because you don't want to waste time in something that isn't the right fit. And typically, I feel like you probably would have moved on already because of how, like, if you felt this way about other people in the past, you didn't stay as long as you have with this person, if that makes sense. There's something about this person that just makes you be willing to kind of wait and see. And I think that's confusing to you. I think you don't actually understand it yourself, why you keep sort of waiting around for this person and waiting for them to, it's almost like you're curious about them, and you're coming at it, Aquarius, from a point of view of, I don't know why you make me feel so nervous and insecure and like I need to doubt you, because you really haven't done anything that I can like name. So I feel like I shouldn't trust this, but you're going to have to prove to me that you're trustworthy. And you're not seeing that from this person. And again, it's because of what I spoke to earlier, and that they sort of feel the same way about you. And so they're not actually showing you their authentic self. Okay? So I'm going to move to the other person now and talk about them, because this is also really interesting to me. So in terms of the other person's current emotional state, we have the Six of Wands coming out reversed. Okay, so I feel like this person right now they're very, very, very much in their ego. They're extremely in their ego. And it's kind of like, I feel like this person has been really hurt before, and they didn't see it coming at all. And where that's led them to is that outwardly, the way that they present themselves, I think that they probably present themselves as someone who is very open and receptive to the notion of being loved and being in a relationship. And they are someone that you wouldn't know offhand has a lot of insecurities around relationships. I feel like they've made sure that they are fairly private and secretive about those insecurities, because for them they feel like it's something that almost like marks them as a weakness. Okay? Now, the other person's underlying fear or issues, it will help you understand why I'm saying this, because what they have as an underlying fear issue is the Two of Cups upright. And this is really interesting because their biggest fear is actually finding a really dreamy, perfect, happy relationship where, you know, it's obvious that this is something that is good and that works. They have a huge fear around that. And again, I think it's because what I was saying earlier, where it's they don't feel like they know what that means. And you know, it's interesting because there is no one definition of what makes a relationship good. It's subjective and it's different for each couple and each relationship. You know, within, you know, if you take two people who really value being independent and not really having like um, you know, their freedom cut into, well, for them, a relationship where it's, you know, fairly detached in terms of the amount of time that you need to spend together or how, you know, much you are updating the other person about what you're doing, that's a good relationship to them. But for people who need closeness and need to, like, you know what's going on with their partner and do things together more often than not, that would not be a good relationship for them. So the thinking itself is flawed, that you don't know what a good relationship looks like because you're just trying to think about there must be one definition that is what a good relationship is, and since I don't know that, I'm not able to know what a good relationship is. So I'm scared to even try to go after that because what if I pick wrong? What if I don't get it right? Okay, I think that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next group of cards here. So again, I'm going to throw up a title slide so you guys know what I'm going to talk about, and then when that's done, we'll go ahead and come back here and flip the cards over. Okay, guys, so we're going to go ahead and move into the next section. This is, again, where this reading starts to become a little bit predictive because we're looking at what lies ahead. Okay, so we're going to start a little bit differently because I actually want to look at your desired outcome and the other person's desired outcome. So, Aquarius, coming out for you as your desired outcome is the Four of Cups. Okay, and then for the other person coming out as theirs, we have the Page of Swords reversed. So Aquarius, I feel like you just want to, you just want to like pull away. You want to pull inward and just be able to just sort of go and be by yourself. And again, I do feel like there's this conflict that you can't manage to do that. It's like you really do, like what I feel from you in terms of your desired outcome is you want to be able to pull away from this person. You want to be able to it's like you want to be able to just not care about this anymore and to just be able to be a little bit selfish and just walk away from it and go and do what you need to do to bounce back from it and move on. But you're not able to actually accomplish that yet. And again, it's because you are allowing yourself to think a little bit beyond what you can see on the surface and sort of the data and the facts that you can gather from observing this person interacting with them. On some level, you sense that there's more to this person than what you can see, and you don't think it's fair that you think that means you should be suspicious of them. And you are making this choice to be a little bit more curious about them than suspicious. For them, having this Page of Swords come out, this is interesting to me because keep in mind this is in their desired outcome. And so the Page of Swords reversed is not necessarily something that I think someone would desire. Like that's not what I'm getting here. So I feel like for the other person, they know that they are potentially being a little bit hasty about you. And they don't want to do anything that is not justified in terms of walking away from this or calling you out. They are someone, they wouldn't call you out unless they had hard proof, and they haven't been able to get any sort of hard proof. And beyond that, they do have a self-awareness that a lot of their pain and a lot of their fear is stuff that is from their childhood. And they know that they're not the type of person that wants to make a decision based on fears from being a kid. Like, they don't want to do that. And so I think ultimately what they want to be able to do here is to express themselves. But again, for you, Aquarius, what you need to keep in mind is that they're looking at you and saying, I really wish that I could talk to them, but I just feel like I can't trust them. And you guys are just, it's like you're playing into each other's fears about the other person because neither of you is willing to make the first move to talk. And Aquarius, I feel like you are probably the more logical, most likely choice to be the person who initiates this conversation, just because you are in this high priestess energy. And so it allows you to be a little bit more feeling about this, more, it'll be easier for you to talk about your own fears and your own insecurities. And when they hear that from you, it's going to give them this sort of moment of feeling like, oh, I can actually open up to them because they actually feel the same way that I do. So let's look at the other cards here in terms of what needs to be healed, both for the sign and for the other person. So Aquarius, coming out for you in terms of what needs to be healed, you have the Five of Wands upright. So Aquarius, I just feel like there's so much anxiety coming into the reading right now. I can feel it. It's not me. I'm not anxious at all today. And it's just shown up with this card. I think that you feel, Aquarius, that life is really about trying to survive it and to stay one step ahead of the bad crap that's coming your way. And that's something that is showing up here as something you need to heal, because even if that's true 90% of the time or 95% of the time, 5% of the time it's not true. But for you, it's almost been like an absolute. And I think this person, honestly, is someone that is starting to shift that for you. I think, honestly, Aquarius, the more that we've gotten into this reading, I feel like the other person is really the person that has the most fears and has the least comfort with those fears. And Aquarius, I feel like for you, you have fears that aren't as intense but are similar to the other person, but you're actually willing to look at them and investigate them and think about them and unpack them and try to figure out whether or not that belief or that feeling that you have is one that you should try to hold on to or one that you should try to change. Okay? And I'm saying this because for the other person, switch guys over here again, coming out for them in terms of what needs to heal from them, they have the Devil reversed. And this is sort of what I was already talking about, so I wanted to just grab the card and show it to you guys. This person just has to learn how to be comfortable with the reality that we all have aspects of ourselves which are dark, and aspects of ourselves that aren't necessarily fully evolved and fully under our control. That's just part of growing and experiencing life and developing who we are as people. They also have to learn how to stop being so hard on themselves and limiting their life as much as they do out of these fears and these deep-rooted insecurities. And I think, Aquarius, you can help them with this, because I feel like that's exactly, so like I'm gonna just do this. See if I can show you guys in this camera. So, you know, we have this devil reversed with this high priestess. So what they need is to see the high priestess that you are dealing, how you're dealing with this by utilizing this high priestess energy. They don't understand how to do that, and it's what they need to be able to do, to be able to look at things from a perspective of being a little bit compassionate towards yourself and realizing that no one has it all figured out. No one has everything about their emotions and everything under, you know, totally locked down sort of status. It's a constant effort to confront our fears and to let go of beliefs that don't serve us anymore. And Aquarius, for you, I feel like this is something that you've really started to be able to embrace and understand, and you've had success with it. And so it's part of what you've added into how you go through the process of analyzing. It's interesting because it still feels very much like an analytical tool for you, which is very Aquarius, but you guys are also very emotional people. So you've learned that you can actually understand your emotions. You can analyze your emotions. You can look at the emotion and figure out, is there a fear underneath this emotion that's making this emotion seem like it's what I want to feel? But maybe if I address that fear, I can feel differently. It's a very sort of like analytical, mind-based way of thinking about feelings and emotions, but it works for you. And I think it would work for this person as well. It's been a really interesting read, and I feel like, again, nothing here has set off alarm bells for me. You know, this devil reversed might typically in a reading, if it was positioned elsewhere, raise a little bit of concern, but this is really what this person needs to heal. And I feel like it's possible for them to heal it through this connection. But again, it all comes down to having conversations. And I really do feel like, Aquarius, you're going to have to be the person that starts that conversation, because they're not going to do it. So before we move to this last section, I want to talk a little bit about it, just in case some of you didn't go to watch the video, because there's a little bit of something here, if you're still with me this far into the video. Because I do know a lot of people jump out of videos before they get to this point, and so I wanted to add something at the end for the people who do watch full videos, because typically we've lost some of the group, some of the collective that started with us. They aren't here right now. So if you didn't go to watch the other video about the spread, these last two cards, the section is what I call Divine Messages. And before I put up the title here, I just wanted to give you guys a bit of a moment, because what I ask is that you decide who you want this message to come from. So the cards obviously are going to be whatever the cards are, but they can be from whoever you personally want. So if you want that to be from your spirit guides or guardian angels, that's fine. If you want it to be from a loved one who has passed over, that's fine. If you want to be from your soulmate or your twin flame or some other divine counterpart, perfectly okay. A lot of times I will actually say this is from a future version of myself or from my higher self. Because what happens then is you have your own personal source for this message, and so what comes through it'll be different for everyone, because it's coming from a very specific place. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to put the title card up now. And then when we come back, I'll actually go ahead and flip these 2 cards over. All right, guys, so welcome back. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at these last 2 cards. Again, I hope that you did take a little bit of time to pick out the person that you want this to come from. If you need a little bit more time to think about that, you can pause the video, spend some time thinking about it or meditating on it. I'm going to go ahead and flip these over, though, so I can take a look at them. Okay, so coming out first as the advice guidance for you. And again, this is from whoever, whatever, wherever you wanted this message to arrive from. You have the 2 of Swords coming out upright. And I feel like this is fairly obvious. I think the advice here is that you have to make a decision here. You have to be willing to either give up on this person or decide that you're going to fight for this person. And it's not going to work out any other way. It's sort of like you're at end's road here. You have to make a choice. You either have to go left or right. There's no other option. There's no other path. It's decision-making time. And I feel like what's really coming through very clearly is that, you know, the advice and guidance here is to make that choice. And ultimately, that's up to you. I try not to tell people what to do in terms of their relationships or their life, because, you know, that's a personal choice, and you should never make a decision based on, you know, something someone else says. You can have that be part of your, you know, thought process, or have it be something that you ponder and think about, but ultimately it has to be your decision. I feel like you just have to decide and be willing to go through with whatever you decide. You know, again, I don't see anything here that's alarming or concerning to me. You know, I feel like there is a lot of growth for the other person here. And I will say this, Aquarius, because I feel like this, I can actually, like, I just heard, you know, like a very somewhat annoyed voice saying, I don't have time to teach somebody else how to be an adult. And, you know, I mean, that's true. If you do decide to follow through with this person and to try to have something with this person, you know, they aren't as far along in this journey as you are. They're just not. And you would have to be able to sort of not only be in a relationship with them, but also in a way sort of be really patient with them as they learn and be able to, like, mentor and explain things to them. But I feel like if you do that through being open about what you are doing personally, what you're doing for yourself and how you make things work, then they will absolutely get it. They'll understand it. And so that's the question that you have to ask yourself is, you know, do you want to put that sort of work and effort into someone? And if you do you want to do that within the context of a romantic relationship, or do you want to try to do that as friends? And again, that's 100% up to you. But I feel like that's what's really coming through in terms of, you know, the advice or guidance. Now, coming out for the most likely outcome, switch you guys back over. So you have the 4 of Coins coming out reversed. And, you know, this is sort of an interesting card to come out. What I'm sensing from this is more like, if you continue with things the way that you have been, if you continue to stay in this energy of both of you being suspicious and on guard and not trusting and trying to, you know, figure the other person out rather than just talking to the person and getting to know them and sharing and letting them get to know you. What it feels like is that you're over investing your time and energy, and you're putting too much of your life into this notion of being with someone and also trying to protect yourself from that person. Like if you can't get past, or if you can't get over the feeling that you need to figure out how to protect yourself from this person, or how to outsmart this person or catch this person and whatever they're doing, it's not where you need to be spending your time or your effort. Like that's number one, it does you no good, but number two, it's also kind of selfish and greedy because you're keeping this person locked in as well. And that goes vice versa, you know, if you're a cross watcher watching, like, you know, you're, in a way, you're holding this person ransom. You're not approaching them to get closer, but you're not also pulling away. And so the two of you are just in this limbo and you're sort of locked into it. And it's not good. So that's why I feel like, you know, this Two of Swords came out, because it's like, if you keep going the way it's going, it's gonna suck. So you have to make a choice. You're either gonna change what you're doing, or you're gonna realize you can't make those changes and you're gonna walk away from this and try to find something else. You don't feel like there's anything else here. So for those of you who made it through to the end with me, thank you so much. I do hope that you guys enjoyed this reading. I loved hearing from you guys and getting comments from you guys. So please take a moment to let me know what you thought about the reading. Let me know what you thought about sort of the new look of things, and sort of, what, you know, was it super distracting if I was switching the cameras on you guys? Let me know that stuff too, because I do like getting that feedback, just so I can adjust things visually, or how the actual videos themselves are. But I think that this was a really good reading, and I'm so curious to hear what you guys think and what you decide, because, you know, for me, it just feels very much like I feel like if this were a book or a TV show, I would be rooting for these two people to just at least sit down and talk. Even if I wasn't rooting for them to necessarily get together and stay together forever, I would at least want them to have a conversation, just so they could realize, like, how much they actually do understand each other. I mean, even if it doesn't work out romantically, there's still so much here that's common ground that it could even work just as like a friendship or a connection, you know? So I just feel like at the bare minimum, Aquarius, I just hope that you guys will actually just be willing to have a conversation, because I feel like even if the conversation doesn't lead to something with this person, being able to have that conversation with someone, being able to talk about the things that you fear about relationships and why you have those fears and what you've worked through and what you're still working on, I feel like just being able to have that conversation with another person will be so good for you, and it's part of what needs to happen in terms of getting you to evolve to that next level of fully being able to connect to and trust your intuition and really hear and accept guidance that's coming in for you, because you have to be in this body, in this realm, in this dimension. You have to be comfortable with vulnerability, and that's just the next step for you, is to be willing to open up a little bit. So if it's not with this person, I do hope that soon you'll get the chance to have that conversation, because you're doing great. This High Priestess card just makes me so happy for you guys. Okay, I'm gonna stop. I wanted to spend a little bit of extra time with you guys for this month, just because you guys had so much amazing love and support from me last month. So this is going to be a little bit long. I'm just looking at the time. But I hope that you enjoyed it, and I really look forward to chatting with you guys in the comments. I'll see you guys next time.